Welcome. We'll go ahead and get started here. So, introduce myself. I'm John Crass. I work in the Business Applications Group, and I focus on the Dynamics 365 AI offerings. And super excited today. We're going to talk about a couple different things. We're going to go through where Dynamics and AI intersect. And as well, we're going to take a walk through three of the products that are coming out this fall. And I'll be joined during the day by a couple of my colleagues. So you'll see people coming up and down. I thought I pushed, there we go. All right. You heard in some of the other sessions about how AI is changing the nature of work. But we also believe it's going to be changing the way that people work and what their job roles are. And it's interesting when you think about it, your own perspectives, you see how this is already happening. When you have a question and you talk to a virtual agent online, you don't realize that the people who work in call centers, their jobs are changing. Those guys are not having to answer some of the mundane tasks. They can now focus on some of the more complicated ones and upskill their jobs. At the same time, even in like very heavy document-rich type of occupations like law, so lawyers and paralegals, their roles are also changing. They're now, with the powers of machine reading comprehension, able to spend more time analyzing and writing and less on searching and organizing. So their billable hours are actually more productive than them going through lots of documents. And then even another example, my wife belongs to one of these online retailers. I don't know if it's a retailer, but a stylist. And what's changed dramatically is her stylist works for a company, and they get these AI patterns of my wife's behavior and her preferences and all the people who are like her. And these patterns allow her to change in how she does her job and be more creative with a larger tool set in terms of information and even some of the product offerings. So it's already changing the way people's jobs work. Some of them are probably more obvious, like call agents or lawyers, but even things like a stylist is an example. But also what we've noticed is a lot of people want to do this from across the board. There's lots of interest in terms of wanting to do more around AI. But the truth is not a lot of people are doing it right yet. So a lot of interest, not a lot of throughput. And Constellation Research did a study with companies that are normally early adopters, and 70% said they already are doing something with AI, but the mere reality is not many have put them through wide adoption and wide production yet. And so it says we're still at the beginning, and they're not doing it. But why isn't everyone doing this? And it's some of these things are going to be, of course, very obvious. You can call me Captain Obvious on some of these things. But a lot of it's been overhyped, and it's like the idea of these are magic, and it just happens, and it's not very hard. You see the commercials where we solve everything from hunger and cancer, and it happens within 15 seconds. It's really not the case. It's actually quite difficult. Because what happens is a lot of these AI, the traditional ones and the original ones, were built outside of normal applications and workflows, so they're not as widely adopted. At the same time, it's taken very unique sets of skills of data scientists, AI devs, and people who are really entrenched, and those occupations are kind of fewer and far between. At the same time, data. You heard in some of the other sessions how data is very siloed, which is a problem. Not everyone has all their data in one place. And so it's siloed, it's complicated, and data across the board is hard to be able to do something about that. And because of all these things, this stuff is very difficult, expensive. So we're still at the beginning phases of the way it's traditionally been done. So then you say, well, what does Microsoft think about this? And now if you look at this slide, you can almost draw a line through it, like left half, right half. Left half, think of this as the platform. And Azure, there's like tons of sessions here in terms of all these great tools, services for developers to be able to build rich AI applications, whether it's bots, we have things with machine learning and all that. We're not going to talk about that today. If that's what you're here for, you're in the wrong room. We're going to talk about Dynamics 365. So we have a couple of scenarios we're going to talk about today, but think of these as the SaaS out-of-the-box offerings where you can make some of these things happen with AI without having those teams of data scientists or AI devs. You'll see the word et cetera. We'll see some examples, but you can imagine this going across lots of different environments and scenarios. Things that are also for our Dynamics customers, and you'll see a theme that we'll talk about is we'll also have options for people who are not yet Dynamics customers. So as we think about Dynamics and around intelligence and AI, there's a couple main pillars. There's insights. You got some glimpse in some of the keynotes, and we'll go deeper on some of these things. And think of this as going from what was traditionally analytics to insights to really the word that really drives out here is action. And you'll hear that a lot. And all of these things are important to be able to get to the next step function. And then mirror that with conversational virtual agents. And this is where not only do we help, if you think about from a customer touch standpoint, improve the experience, but also employee productivity. And then when you wrap these together, and you'll see some examples later today of how we can put these together, all of this stuff really drives better business results by the power of AI. And the theme that I started with of how it's going to change different jobs, you could think about this as changing it from every department and every discipline. You don't have to be an AI scientist to be able to do this with SaaS application. And we're going to highlight these. These are some of the big workloads that you'll see today, but this is just an example of where we're going. And the important thing is this is going to be solutions that will fit within current infrastructure and current talents. Once again, people who actually work in these departments can actually get the benefits out of AI. And hopefully by the time we leave here, you'll get to see that. So what does a company need, and where does that really intersect with Dynamics? I mentioned a little bit at the beginning of these have to be out of the box, where you get immediate value right away without a multi-month or a year setup to be able to start seeing some advantages with AI. But also have the ability for these things to grow as the scenarios get more complicated, and we have the power of Azure for this to continue to grow. And you heard James talk about the whole no cliffs. The idea that these are going to be infused, we have a lot of customers on Dynamics. We're going to infuse some of these AI capabilities into their current workloads, but we're not stopping there. We're also going to have some standalone offerings. So if, say, you're a Salesforce customer, you're not using Dynamics, there'll be some opportunities to be able to utilize some of these offerings and take advantage of AI. We talked about data being siloed. I mean, think of 3 different buckets. You have your data in Dynamics, you have your data in all these other systems of record, and then we have a bunch of great Microsoft signals, and we'll have an example that will show you that. How do you put these all in one place through a common data service where you can actually take advantage of that? And that's where the needs and what Dynamics can do will come together. And then the third bullet, I just want to focus on one word, which is action. All these things have to lead on actually doing something that drives business results, not just for something that gives them more information, but it has to lead to something that actually pays out. We're going to talk about sales managers, customer support. This will help dimensionalize what the word action really means. And then from an evolve standpoint, these things are built to continue to learn and get better for the ones that we're already doing. And we're going to continue to do these across other workloads, as I said, across every discipline and every department. And how do we think about this? So before we even come to market with some of these things, Microsoft, I hate the word dog food, but we eat our own dog food in a lot of things. We take some of the technologies that are built out of MSR and other organizations, and we start utilizing these things. And then we also do some early pilots and early deployments with some big partners. A couple key things. So Microsoft, we've done a couple different things. With our sales group, they've been using some of the sales technologies with our inside sales and other sellers to help improve the relationship way of selling and have had great benefits. These technologies then lead into products. Also within Microsoft, if anybody's been to support.microsoft.com, you'll see a virtual agent. Frank will come up and talk about our broader customer support offerings. But it's already handling 5 million chats a month and being able to get smarter and answer more and more questions. So we learn a ton from these very complicated ones. And a lot of times, Microsoft scenarios are more complicated than some of our customers. So if we could solve it with ours, then it's easier for us to build these into products. HP is another example of where we are working with a company as we did some of our initial virtual agent, and Frank will talk more about that. And then Infosys is an example. who's using some of the technologies in our AI for Sales product for relationship selling, and once again has really boosted their sales productivity. So today we're going to look at 3 things. I figured it's more important to look at demos than hear me talk about demos. So we're going to start with AI for Sales, and this will allow not only sellers to be more effective with building relationships and allow their sales managers to be better coaches, but overall drive better results. Market insights. When you think from a marketing person's standpoint, they want to understand the brands that they represent, and what are people saying about them, what are they searching about them, and how do they feel about that? We're going to talk about that. And then customer service, we're going to go through the full product strategy of how we're going to, once again, try to improve customer sat for our customers' customers, and boost their own employees' productivity and satisfaction by the tool sets that they have there. So now I'm going to start with the first act, which is AI for Sales. And if you think about what should a seller be doing, they should be selling. And when you look at the time spent, and we have lots of different stats, there's a lot of time spent on unproductive efforts of trying to figure out what the next right best action, how do I get a hold of this person, how do I become more effective at my job? And we believe that there's an opportunity, you'll see some of those, and you've already seen some of those in some of the keynotes. At the same time, sales managers we've learned they have to have a better grasp of how do they not only coach, but understand what's happening to be able to meet their goals and make their overall org more productive in terms of selling. So what we're going to do is I'll do a little intro. I'm going to turn it over to Luca, who's going to come up here. He's going to walk through the product, and then we'll kind of walk through the next couple of them, and we'll take it from there. So Luca, let me switch you over. You have 7.
Hey, can you hear me? Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you, John. So as John was mentioning, today I'm going to show you a couple of different AI capabilities related to the sales world. You know, I'm Italian. You might think that having an Italian guy on stage talking about AI is just like having Berlusconi that talks about honesty, but bear with me. First we're going to start with the sales rep and the sales rep world, and we're going to see how the AI-infused capabilities that are going to help the sales rep understanding the customer journey, understanding the customer interaction, and extracting, deducing value and insight for all of these interactions. And then we're going to look at how we can help the sales manager with AI capabilities in first coaching his team, as well as helping him in obtaining his quota. So let's jump to the sales rep world. Again, here I'm going to show you the infuse AI capabilities in Dynamics 365 for Sales core application that is going to be available in October. So I'm on my dashboard, and as every day I'm looking at my numbers, my opportunities, and I see this big red number here, which is not a very good one, because what it's going to tell me is that I am really behind my quota for this quarter. So here, let me pause for a moment, because what I really want to understand is first what's going on, why I'm well behind my quota, and then if there is something that I can do to just bridge this gap. So let's now try to understand a little bit more about my opportunities here. I can look at the estimated revenue, I can look at the data just like close date, what is the account, and so on and so forth. But more importantly here, I see that the infused AI capabilities have been able to create and calculate this relationship health state value here. And it's based on data coming from both Dynamics 365 and Office 365. So what we can see here is that some of my opportunities are in a good health state, some of them are fair and poor. It is very good for me to be able to understand where to focus and what I need to do next. But this is not just a picture, a static picture of what's going on with my opportunities, because if you see here, we have been able also to understand what is the trend. Applying predictive model here, we are able to understand where my relationship is going on. It's going to be better soon, it's going to improve, to decline. So those two values here are very good for me in order to be able to understand what to do next. So let's now look at how the relationship health state and the trend are going to be calculated. So here we look at all the interaction, the meeting requests, the emails, and the phone calls that we send to the customer, as well as what have been the responses back from the customer itself. The time spent, the email engagement, emails opened, attachment viewed, links clicked, and the response rate and the response time. So all of this information together calculates and creates and composes the health score. So what about the trend here? As we see here, the interaction history of the last couple of months, so what we have been doing around this specific opportunity when it comes to all the interaction, the emails, the meetings, the phone calls, I've been able to predict and understand what is going to be the future for this specific opportunity when it comes to the health state. So now I have a little bit more knowledge about what's going on with my opportunity. So now let's see what I can do in order for me to be able to improve the state of this relationship. So here, first of all, I got a suggestion, which is, hey, there has been no activity with this account since more than a month ago. So I can leverage the power of the data within LinkedIn to be able to understand what are the icebreakers, what can I do, what kind of connection can I leverage in order for me to be able to improve my relationship. And so now let's switch gears and let's move to the sales manager world. So what I'm going to show you here is the Dynamics 365 AI for sales, which is going to be in public review this October. So here we are in the sales manager world. And first of all, what I'm seeing here is that my team is well below the target, and there is just 11 days left. So the first thing I want to understand is why. Why is that? Why we are in this situation? And I'm not just having numbers as an answer. What I'm going to have here is real suggestions, real insights. So things like, so how are we doing versus historically? What are the industries that we are winning deals in? Why are we losing deals? Where is our revenue coming from? How does our sales funnel look by stage? How do our won versus lost deals correlate to our win rate? So all of this information comes both from Dynamics 365 and Office 365, and we apply statistical modeling and machine learning in order to be able to have this kind of insights. But now, it's not just that, there is more than that, because let's say that we want to understand what to do. So it's, again, having a clear picture of what's going on is good. I would love to understand more. I would love to understand what to do. And let's have a look at a couple of examples here. So my team is having trouble moving from qualification to proposed stage. So this is a clear insight and a clear way for me to understand where to take action, where to focus my next back action. And then again, here we can understand that we are losing most deals from outsold. Again, all of these suggestions are really precious for me. So now let's move on and let's see what the AI capabilities can do when it comes to helping me coaching my team. So here, first of all, I can see a couple of highlights. So one of my people, Ryan, just won a deal. And so this was a very important deal, so because it was previously at risk of being lost. And again, one of my person here Eric Bukok, is quite behind the quota. And I can put together quite a different and interesting information here. Well, first of all, what's happening with Eric? I can understand that looking at the sentiment analysis of his calls, there is a significant drop in positive sentiment while talking to customers in the last month. So I need to understand with him why. And again, here, what I see that I have an upcoming one-to-one with Eric in the next 30 minutes. And since he's achieved 60% of his quota, and the health score for this opportunity is pretty low, and putting together the data from LinkedIn, I can say that since I have a connection at Contoso named Paul Cannon, this guy might help him on that, with that specific opportunity. So what I can do here, I can just leave a note for Eric and tell him that we can leverage this kind of information. So again, what we have seen is that those AI capabilities will both help me coaching my team as well as reaching the quota. So now back to you, John.
So don't go too far. We're gonna change your role in a little bit. So let me go back to 5. So what you saw in summary is a tool set that enables both sellers and sales managers to be more effective of closing their pipeline, what to do next, especially for sales managers, of how to coach and figure out what to do, especially if something's not going well. Also want to clarify, so the first piece that Luca went through was the infused into the core application. That's going GA in October. The second piece was a standalone offering for sales managers. That's going preview in October. So I just want to make sure you saw two different things, and both coming in October, but slightly different. So I want to jump to kind of the next stage. And when you think about marketing and marketers, and there's like two sides of the same coin. Marketers, to be really good at their job, need to understand their customers, their products, how people think about their products. And at the same time, you have customers who've increasingly gotten used to having things that are more personalized, not to the level of creepiness, but personalized of how they're communicated to across all different channels. So marketers need to get better, and customers are already expecting it. So what are the tool sets that we could do to allow marketers to have a better sense, especially if they're responsible for a brand, to be able to understand how people talk about that brand, how people search for that brand, and then even how they feel about that brand to help them have a competitive advantage. So I'm going to switch back over. We're going to do a quicker walkthrough on market insights. And then I'm going to stay up here. I'm not trying to intimidate you by any means.
Thanks, John. So as John was mentioning, I'm going to show you a short presentation, short demonstration of Dynamics 365 AI for market insights. And so here, the ability is, the main idea here is, this is going to be very interesting and important for the marketers because it's going to give them the ability of understanding what the consumers and the customers are thinking, feeling, and doing, both in social media world, so we're talking about Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and so on, as well as the information coming from Bing search. And using statistical modeling and Azure Learning, we will be able to deduce and infer some very interesting insight out of all those information. So now, for the purpose of this demonstration, we're going to use Microsoft Ignite. So what we're going to see now is we're going to try to have an understanding of what you guys think about us on stage. And so first of all, let's focus on our ability to understand the content of the social conversation. So here we're looking at the intention analysis and auto-tagging. So the ability for our AI capabilities to understand what is the main content of the conversation. What is the main level of and the main tags that we have when it comes to having a conversation in our social world. So here, thanks to machine learning, what we see here is that there is this automatic way to understanding what are the intentions, just like information requests, support requests, purchase complaint, and so on. And again, with the ability of auto-tagging here. But there is more than that, because we can also understand what is the tone and the register of the conversation. So if we look here at the sentiment analysis, we can understand if a person is happy with the comment that is leaving on the social media world, is negative, and so on. And again, we can also be able to deduce and infer the age group and the gender of the people thanks to the machine learning model. So I'm able to understand what is the group that the person belongs to. And so again, I have a complete vision, not just about the content of the conversation, the tone of the conversation, but I can also understand a little bit more about the demographics here. And back to you, John.
Okay, appreciate it. Thanks. We already had a head start on understanding the social signals. What's really new is being able to pull the signals from Bing, which is something that there's only a couple companies in the planet that could actually do these types of things, of which we are one of them. But it allows our marketing audience to really understand how people feel about brands, and ideally give them a competitive edge and seeing how things are changing over time. So now I'm going to go to the third act, and we'll spend the remainder of the time on that. We're going to discuss customer service, and this is an easy one. I could throw lots of stats up here. There's room to grow to have better customer service. No one likes calling people. No one likes being transferred to someone who can answer the question. They just want to get their answer on the first time. They want to make sure that, from a customer standpoint, they get what they need quicker and faster. At the same time, it's interesting, when you talk to like our VP of customer support, she truly believes, and I think this is pretty widespread, that customer service is the tip of the spear of how companies feel about a brand. So how you do that right, how you answer their questions right, not only from a live agent, but how do you get it done before they even have to call someone is super important. So I'm going to invite Frank. Frank's Weigel's the general manager for our new customer service AI offerings, and he's going to walk through our product strategy as well as go through some demos and look at both sides of both the insights and virtual agents.
Thanks for having me, John. So as you heard, I'm Frank Weigel. I run the customer care intelligence team. It's one of these new AI offerings that you kind of heard about. And what gets me really excited about this is customer service, as John already mentioned, really is these days at the forefront of how companies differentiate themselves, right? A lot of times, the experience a customer will have with your support will be determining whether they buy more product, what they say to their friends, their colleagues about your company, and so on. Now, at the same time, everybody's under pressure to get the organization, the support teams more and more efficient, at the same time increasing CSAT, right? We all want happier customers, but we want to spend less on it and have a lot better support experience. And for me, this is a great area where AI really can shine. Because if you look at what support teams do, there typically is kind of a large volume of answers that really the support agents can do in their sleep, and they know, but they do take a lot of the time from the agents and often impact then the time they can spend on the really complicated issues. And so where we're going and what we are really creating here at Microsoft is the ability to holistically look at customer support together with artificial intelligence. I'll show you paths how to do it better, all the way to automating the most common topics to offload the humans so the human agents can focus on the complex cases and your customers don't have to wait in queues and so on until they get to speak with a representative. Now, we're doing this already today. So I think John referred to it. We have it in production at large companies. We ourselves, if you go to the Microsoft support side, have a virtual agent there. HP, Macy's are some of the customers we publicly can talk about. And between all of them, we're doing millions of sessions helping customers today, right now. Now, the big thing is that today, this is something that really only very large companies engage with because, frankly, you start a very large engagement with a services organization, and then we would use our technology to custom create these virtual agents. And the thing that I'm very, very proud to announce today is that we're now bringing everything we've learned there to a SaaS service, making it possible now to really go and adopt this at scale. Meaning any company, you just sign up, you try it out, you create your own virtual agent. You get AI for insights into your support organization without having to have AI experts, data scientists start using your developers and creating a large-scale project. And that really, for us, is so crucial because it now brings this power that we've developed and the years of experience we have in creating those as custom bespoke systems, really to enable any company to take advantage of it, to take you to that next level. And so where we're heading for customer services, we're going to provide a range of these SaaS offerings that you can adopt individually or you can use all together. And I'm actually going to show you in the demo how some of the insights and the bot all come together. They're very easy to adopt and customize. Now, before I ran customer care, I actually used to run Power Apps. And I don't know whether anybody here has had a chance to try and build applications with Power Apps. It's all about empowering the individual, bringing the ability to, in Power Apps case, create applications, here now to create customer service virtual agents to the people who know the subject matter best, right? Because think about it, for support, you already have people in your company who know everything about the product. They know how they want a virtual agent to interact, to project the right voice, the right manner of interacting with customers. You have those people already today in your company. They probably write call scripts for the human agents. But what we're now for the first time enabling is that those audiences, those experts can actually go and take their knowledge and their expertise and easily use it to create a bot because you do not need developers, AI experts, data scientists anymore. And that democratizing of this AI technology is something that I'm very passionate about because I believe the only way, given the digital transformation happening so fast and the speed with which companies change, it's the only way how we can kind of keep up and make sure that the fullest potential can be realized by all companies and not just the top 10 or 20 or 100 that can spend very large amounts on this. And we also make sure that it works with your existing data and systems. So even if you're not a Dynamics customer, you'll be able to adopt both the virtual agents as well as the customer service insights. It works against all the standard systems, all the standard data. It integrates with it. Of course, if you are using Dynamics, you'll be able to integrate it out of the box, and some things it will show up. And so concretely, there are two products that I want to talk about. One is D365, Dynamics 365 AI for Customer Service Insights. This is all about getting a great understanding about how your support team is doing, including any virtual agents you may have. It really lets you optimize this using the power of AI, and I talk a little bit more about in what ways. And then the virtual agent, which is really automating support topics through a bot and how you can build that. Insights is going to go into preview next month, so you'll be able to try that hands-on yourself very soon. And the virtual agents product is going to come out early next year. So with that, let me go and show you some of this in real life. Okay, let me log in and we're ready to go. Actually, whilst I'm logging back into my machine, quick show of hands. Whose company here is using chat in customer support today? Okay, very few. Everybody else, what is voice or the primary channel or email? Let's say raise your hands if it's voice. You got it. Okay, so mainly email then I take it, or people don't know. So what you see here is the Insights product. The Insights is, like I said, a single pane of glass where you can see how your support team is doing, including any virtual agents. And so you see, a lot of the standard metrics. I can go, for example, here and say, let me show for the whole month, and then you see, for example, here in the case volumes, right? I see I've got a big hole in the weekends, which makes sense. It's a business product. Really, where the AI part is coming into this is what we have here on the left, and we'll have this in a bunch of other places I'll show you. The standard problem is that when cases come in, your agents, you don't see the similarities between cases easily. So for your analysis, you normally see, there's 500 cases that are unresolved or something, or here, 5,000 cases that are new. That's easy. Any BI system can give you that stat. The problem is normally you're missing the context of which of those cases are actually about the same topic. Your human agents will know this because they often will have support articles and others by this, but normally there's no way to automatically figure this out. And this is really where the same natural language understanding technology that we've developed for our bots comes into play, because what you see here as these case topics was not entered by a human, but is actually the result of the AI looking at the case data and deciding, hey, I think those 568 cases are actually about the same topic. And the topic we believe is that when a user inputs the coupon code, the website said promotion expired, but it hadn't yet expired. It understands that all those cases are about the same thing, and it now groups them. And once you know which cases are about the same topic, fully automated, you now get a whole new level of insight that you can do. So in addition to the more traditional KPIs, for example, if I go to my incoming cases, I now see what these topics are, and I see, for example, emerging topics. I can do the analysis where we're looking at, well, we think this is a cluster of a support topic that's coming up, and we see how it changes day by day, week by week. And so we can actually identify what are topics that are suddenly growing. Those are ones, for example, here you've got ones that has 84 cases. It's nowhere near the most popular topics. Even here 43. But we know there's a meaningfully change happening. It went up by almost 20% versus the last period. Those are the ways how you can identify what are issues that may be really important, and you can start addressing them before they have become a big problem. Right? And this is exactly my view, where AI really helps you, because it can do things that otherwise you would just lose in the data. Because if you just see, there's hundreds of cases flying by, the support manager, you can't really go and look at each case individually, and you would just lose completely in your, at breadth, the perspective to realize what are new topics that you might want to be able to address. And I can go and I can drill in, and I'll show you that more in a second, demo in a second. But you can go and drill into these topic clusters and then look specifically. Here I can say, oh, Vincent seems to have a bunch of these cases. I can really now go and work with individual agents. We've got something about the resolve impactors, for example. So we can tell you, we can break up and know, for example, that controls and nutrition ones have the biggest impact on CSAT. Right? And the same for resolution time. I can go and start understanding which of these topic clusters has the biggest contribution, the biggest negative impact, right? For example, when the user inputs a coupon code, the one topic we talked about earlier, right? The resolution time is really quite high, and there's a lot of volume. So we know overall this is really impacting by 2% of the overall case resolution time. So you start to see how I can now go and specifically target my reaction based on this insight. And this is really what it's all about. It's getting an understanding and then being able to take an action on it. And then the integration with virtual agent that's coming, I can show you here a little bit. This is the KPI summary that you already saw. Right? And so here I see, okay, incoming cases is going up, and I detect here as an emerging topic that has quite a drastic change in volume, right? Still, the total count isn't that high, but I see there's a big change. And actually, the School Buddy 1000 in this example, let's say, is a new product we just launched. So I can go and now go and drill in and look at the details of this cluster, the screen I showed you earlier. Now let me go down here to the Sankey chart. What this now lets you do is, it actually shows you where these questions originated, right, across the different channels that you support. And you see a few things. You see, okay, this virtual agent that in this example, Contoso has deployed doesn't answer it, so it's not a topic that's already automated. And you see there's a whole bunch of unresolved, basically meaning that this would be a new support topic. Your support team doesn't yet have good answers to it, so they're spending a bunch of time on this. And you just caught it. And you can go, you know what, I think we can totally automate answering this topic. And so thanks to the integration we'll have between the Insights product and the virtual agent product, now without being an AI expert, I can go and say, you know what, I want to automate this topic. And I don't know who here has ever tried building a bot. At the moment, when you build a bot for customer service or any other thing, it typically involves developers. You use bot framework, you start coding, a lot of things that just you cannot do in a support organization. Here, I just say I want to create this new topic. Then you help the AI understand what will people say. Some of this we already pre-fill. You can add more phrases, but then especially you can go and create the conversation. Just like you would write a call script and tell your human agents what you want to do, you can now tell the bot in a very, very intuitive manner. And I can go and start, the virtual agent should say something, and then let me just skip forward to a full kind of tree. Here you see a more complex kind of conversation. And so you can literally very intuitively say, which model of school body do you have? And if it's 1,000, this is what I want to tell. This way you can make sure the bot interacts directly in the tone of voice, in the style that your company wants to. And you can, of course, provide the right answer, which is ultimately what your customers care most about, right? And now once I have deployed this to my website, the virtual agent now will be able to just go and answer this question. And think about it. It means now that all your support managers have the data to understand what are new topics that are impacting, what are topics maybe where customers are not happy about. You can go and easily update the response of the bot if you decide to automate it, and then the bot can provide the answers. And looking at, this is a data set, a few weeks later, simulated, and then you'll see, right, that now my virtual agent can actually handle a lot of this volume. And so instead of having the human agents either not know what to do or take time to explain how to reset the body, they can spend time on more complex diagnostics, troubleshooting, all the things at which humans are really great, and AI honestly isn't there yet. And this ease with which all this is possible really makes it now applicable to the very broad audience. Any company can go and start using it to raise their customer service into this new era of AI. So with this, let me go back to, is it 5? No, 5 was the right one for the slides. And kind of just quickly recap a little bit. So the first product that you saw is Customer Service Insights. It's really all about the single pane of glass across humans and virtual agents. We do the automatic clustering to really help you understand what are the topics that come in versus just looking at case titles and having thousands of those. And today many of you might do this via an Excel spreadsheet, which of course doesn't happen all the time. And then it's very difficult for humans to go through thousands of cases and try to remember which of those are common ones. AI is very, very good at identifying those. And then ultimately what it leads to is that you can build much improved satisfaction and loyalty from your customers because they get relevant answers very quickly, very easily, while still being able to escalate to humans, of course. And then those virtual agents, as you said, we can now just easily automate them. You don't need to have any of the expensive AI experts, data scientists, any of the things that are really hard to find these days. Instead, your existing support managers can go and use this. Your IT staff can do the integration through Flow very straightforward. And all of this is seamlessly integrated. You saw how you're able to go from insights directly into the agent to automate. And so with that, I think I'll hand over to John for wrap-up. Thanks so much.
So I think you summed it up well. So I will go ahead and skip because we have 2 minutes left. So hopefully you were able to get a glimpse of how Dynamics is intersecting with AI and where we fit in with Microsoft. The ability to have this for not just Dynamics customers, but for soon-to-be Dynamics customers instead of not Dynamics customers. Just giving people the option of how to be able to start taking advantage of these capabilities and really making sure that the people who are closest to the content, the example that we just saw, the support managers who understand the content, giving them the ability to actually go do something for their customers without a lot of work from other organizations is super important. You'll see that democratization across. So while you're here, there's a session here that has not happened yet. There's a couple that have already happened. You can watch the recordings. The Ignite booth, if you have other questions. And this is a slide that someone put in, so I assume this must be important. So there's some communities for business applications. So go ahead and check that out, and I appreciate it. So thank you very much.